Hey everybody, it's Kim. I hope you're all at home healthy and safe. I figured since we're home, we could take this time to do a little sketching together. So if you'd like to join me to sketch a spring topic of a bee and its honeycomb, get yourself some paper. Doesn't need to be artist paper. It can be anything you have around the house. You'll want a decent pencil eraser. A pencil, a number 2 is fine if you have one that's HB. HB is basically the hardness of the graphite, and HB is a good middle of the road graphite to start with. And then the last thing I'm going to use is have these little blending stumps. Now if you don't have blending stumps, Q-tips work just fine. All right, let's get started. Okay, I'm ready to get started. I got kind of a crazy setup going here. Basically, I'm sitting in the middle of my tripod, so we'll see how this works. So we are going to do a picture of a bee and its honeycomb. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plot out where I want the honeycomb. I'm going to put a dot at the middle, at the top, and then come down a ways. And then I'm going to angle out from the top. Hopefully the shadows from the sun aren't too harsh. I'm trying to work with what I've got here. And then I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom. So basically it's like drawing a cube, except we're not going to be drawing the interior lines. Now we're going to connect the lines at the top and the bottom, and then we have our honeycomb, more or less. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plot out where my bee is. So I'm going to do really light little circle. And then I'm going to come down off of the bee at an angle on either side. I feel like when we do this, it kind of ends up looking a bit like a salt and pepper shaker. Now we're going to make a bulbous portion at the bottom. Kind of actually will end up looking very much like a light bulb. Next thing we're going to plot out very quickly are the wings. So right about where the head meets the middle segment, we're going to draw a line out to the side, kind of curve it a little bit, and then around, come down, and then do a few more wiggles, and back up. So this portion right here is going to be the lower wing. And then on this side, come down about the same distance as there, and over. And meet up with that. And then come out of the middle of that bottom part of the smaller wing, and back. All right, so that's basically the body. So the first thing we're going to start doing is we'll take our eraser and we're going to get rid of our honeycomb lines and any of the body lines that intrude upon our wings. Okay. So the bees are these type of bees that we're going to draw are very fuzzy. So right along where I'm going to say the neck and the second segment meet, I'm making little squiggly lines, kind of indicate the fuzziness of the bee. Same thing at the top of the head. I'm going to go out and just going in, out, to try to get that fuzziness. Same thing with the bottom. I'm trying to make it not super even. I want it to go further in at some points than others, because basically when you're doing art, you don't want things to be too symmetrical unless you're intentionally trying to get them to be symmetrical. All right. Now, the black part's going to go down to about here. So I'm going to once again make my little fuzzy, furry lines for my bee. I'm going to continue to do that all the way around its body. And then down the bottom here. I'm going to do one more line right about here. And then if you feel like you need to catch up, this would be a good time to pause the video. I'm going to start filling in, or you could just let it play while we're filling in. So I'm going to use the side of my pencil. I'm making little circles and going in and out of those little fuzzy furry lines. And then I'm going to go along the edges of the wings. Okay, through this section I want to leave a little bit of a shape, almost like it's got a bit of an iridescence, because maybe it's not as furry there. So I made that little shape so I can make sure I don't cover over it. If it gets too hard for you to fill in with the side of your pencil, you can always use the tip. Just little circles work really nicely for filling that in. I'm going to make another little shape on this segment here that I'm going to leave white. And then I want to do one more right about here. I'm going to try to make it look kind of rounded. Just kind of like curves through here. And then we'll fill in the body of our bee. A little earlier I tried doing this with some flower details around it, and the thing is, my camera that I'm using, it's not a pricey camera, and it doesn't like taking videos any longer than 20 minutes, so I figure this could be round 2, and it doesn't hurt that I have a little bit more art practice, because that's what art is, along with a lot of other things. It's practice. So if any of you have ever taken a class with me before, you know that I very much always tell people that I'm not expecting your drawings to look like mine or your paintings. It's your drawing. If I'm going in more detail than you like, feel free to not do everything I'm doing. It's kind of the fun of art, is that it's got to be yours. It's not supposed to be mine. I mean, when you go to art school, sometimes you'll take classes where you're trying to actually replicate a painting, and that's to build your skill. But if you're doing this just for fun, just to try something different, then, you know, it doesn't need to look any certain way. This is just a guide. Now I'm filling in, it's kind of little, looks like it's beanie. Haha. A bee with a beanie. pun unintended. And then the last section that's going to be black will be down here. Alright, I'm going to do some bigger circles to get this filled in. Define my fuzziness. Now I'm making just little scratchy lines. And I love doing their antenna. Kind of little curves in them, almost look like they're wire coat hangers that got a little bent in different directions. I always find those fun. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blending stump or Q-tip. I'm going to go over the places that I filled in and smooth them out a little bit. But at the same token, I'm going to pull some of the graphite up into the yellow sections, but I don't want to completely nullify what I've done on those, you know, leaving those open. I mean, they're supposed to be the yellow part. So I'm going to go in and out just a little bit along the two edges. And going up into them just a bit, not filling the whole thing in because it's leaving some nice shading on those sections. All right, next part we're going to do is the veining on the wings. So just making little lines, just very much like if you're doing a leaf. Always like the little, almost a stained glass effect that you get on different type of insect wings. And I'm going to go ahead and darken some of the lines of the exterior of the wings at this point. And this is once again where you can take your blending stump or your Q-tip, rub it along the lines on the inside of your wings. I'm not going over the whole thing, but trying to get around the edges. So they don't look completely white, because they're supposed to have a little bit of an opacity to them. Well, I guess it's translucence. All right, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to darken my honeycomb, and then I'm going to make a secondary line. Anywhere you feel like it needs a little bit of darkening because you went in and you used your blending stump, now would be a good time to do that. So it does kind of lighten it up as you go. And I'm going to say be hopeful. And don't forget to sign your work. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Thank you everybody for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this sketch. If you would like to do more sketching with me, please check in on this YouTube channel. And if you know me personally, if there's something that you would like to request to do, please send me a note. And I hope to see you all soon. Stay healthy.